Welcome to Grand Sumo Breakdown,
the unofficial sumo podcast
for official sumo fans. Welcome to Grand Sumo Breakdown. This is Ryan.
This is Mac.
And today we are joined by a very special guest. We are joined by the esteemed Jason from Jason's All Sumo channel. Jason, how are you doing today?
Oh, konnichiwa, Minasan. I am very good today. Thank you. It is early morning for me and late night for you guys. So
Yes.
I appreciate your time accommodations, and I'm glad to be here.
We are so excited to have you here.
Absolutely. So Jason, why don't you just give a quick overview of who you are and why you are so damn important in the English-speaking sumo community?
Yes. Why is this so?
I moved to Japan in 2004 and started watching sumo, which I'd never seen before. And I'm an American. I think that's obvious. And
No, I couldn't tell, honestly.
Yeah. I can do a fake British accent, but I won't.
Oh, okay.
And so after 5 years of watching and enjoying, I had put up a few random videos. This is in the early days of YouTube, and people enjoyed them, but it was kind of different than my other content on my channel, which was about living and being a teacher in Japan. And so I just decided to make a whole separate channel that would just be sumo, because sumo, unlike a lot of sports, doesn't have a season, right? It's every other month. There's 6 of them a year of the grand tournaments. So it was coming out fairly regularly. And and so I just started a little channel. Literally at that time, I had a Casio X Slim camera that had a sticker on it that said, "Great for YouTube," and like I would put that at my television, and from behind I would talk and just sort of mention what was going on. And the advantage, have either of you ever been to Japan?
Yes, we have.
And Mac will actually be going again in
that's
just about
right.
a month's
Yes,
time.
I'll be coming out in about a month now.
You guys came in like 2019 before the pandemic, right?
Yes.
Very lucky
time.
on that
I
front.
remember. We tried, but it was just not good timing. Anyway,
Yep.
So when you come here and you watch NHK as a viewer, when sumo's on, there's a button on the remote control you can hit, and it will change from Japanese commentary to they do a dedicated English play-by-play for the 2 hours of the top Makuuchi division.
We were not able to find that button when we were in Japan, unfortunately.
I'll go grab my remote and show you where it is.
Thank you.
And so I started because I lived in a very rural place in a prefecture called Shimane, and there wasn't almost any English anything on TV. So I just gravitated toward just hearing English, and it allowed me to get into the sport in a way I probably wouldn't have if I just watched it in Japanese, not really understanding a lot of what was going on. So I'm indebted to people like Murray Johnson, who still does the play-by-play, and those guys. And so I would record that. So people that don't live in Japan could watch and understand, and I would explain things. And so there was an English language availability. Now, there had been a guy, I shouldn't take full credit. There had been a guy on YouTube even before me named Kintamiyama.
Oh, yes.
Who was putting up videos. I think he lives in like Israel or something. He had some NHK feed, and but he didn't talk. He would just edit everything, and it was kind of a compilation, kind of like Nato Sumo does these days. And he put little funny subtitles like on the screen in English, but I think even if you heard any play-by-play, it was in Japanese. So I was sort of one of the first to do it. And, other people have put up sumo videos, but I kept doing it and kept doing it and kept doing it. And before long, by the time Tochinoshin became a phenomena in the non-Japanese sumo world, because he had so many foreign fans, in what was that, around 2016, my channel had grown pretty big. And so if you typed in anything sumo in English, right, not in kanji, then you probably found my channel, just because there was so much. And so it grew and grew and grew. And then, as you guys said, we might talk about a little later on, unfortunately, just now in 2023, the Sumo Association has caught up with this thing called the internet and decided that they don't want anybody else playing in their sandbox. So they've copyright striked quite a few of us, and my channel went away.
Yeah.
But there's a new one, and we've found a different angle. I don't use NHK anymore because they're obviously the major ones who are associated with the Sumo Association.
Okay.
And send out the strikes. Sometimes they come straight from the Kyokai itself.
Okay.
But yeah, we'll just keep going. So I had 70,000 subscribers when it all went away, and which was great. Now, of course, not 70,000 watchers. I wish it was that many, but and then now the channel's been up since the March bus show, so 2 tournaments now, and I've got about 8,500 right now. So that's great, because I feel like those 8,500 are probably actually watching. You know what I mean? And it's
The
a
core
more real
fans.
number of not just people who subscribed 8 years ago and don't watch sumo anymore and just never unsubscribed. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
absolutely.
So, yeah, that's a little bit of how. And so there is an archive, and I link it just about every day when I put coverage up during a tournament. Some guys, as soon as they heard I was having strikes and stuff, luckily went on and started downloading every video. And I think between the two of them, on something called archive.org or something like that, I can send you guys the link if you want it. But
yeah, please do.
yeah, and so they preserved, I think there's 1,700 matches or something that
Holy smokes.
Yeah. So
That's
they're
an
up.
excellent repository of sumo.
Yeah, there's not a really great way to index through them. You kind of just have to search around, unfortunately, on that site, but they are there. So if you want to watch, Hakuho fight so and so, or Asa Shotoru do this, or Haramafuji beat Hakuho to become Yokozuna, most of those matches are preserved on that site.
Something that I've always loved about your videos is when you're like you're streaming the matches themselves, but I personally love the commentary that you have in the background. It feels like one of the best memories that I have is, and Ryan, you can attest to this, when we would stay up way too late to watch these, when they were live stream on Abima, and we would all just sit there on the couch and just talk about, it's like, well, what about this? And what about, and just go back and forth and back and forth. I love that in your videos. I love hearing your commentary. I love hearing you talk about these different wrestlers. You can tell you just have a passion for this. And I love that about you.
Oh, well, thank you very much. Yeah, I think that's the biggest, well, not biggest, what should I say? One of the most common compliments I get, and I'm very lucky to get compliments, is, it's like watching sumo on the couch with a friend. You're just hanging out with somebody. And for a lot of people like me, I go to school, I teach here in Japan. Nobody knows anything about sumo. Nobody wants to talk to me about sumo. So it's my way of, even though I live here, of reaching out to a community of like-minded fans. And I have fans who live we did a map thing about a year ago where I tried to say, hey, where are you watching from? And it really is quite a huge swath of the globe, and a lot of Europe, a lot of North America, Australia, Oceania, but South America. And you might be the only person in Wyoming who watches my channel, or Alaska or something, and there's no sumo fans for you to go down to the bar and have a chat with. Hey, did you see that match last night between Terano Fuji and Taka Keisho? What a match,
Yeah.
That's not going to get precedence over the NFL or the NBA, but yeah, and so watching with me, I'm just talking to no one, of course. I think people would laugh if they saw me do my show.
That's how I feel when I'm podcasting with these guys. I'm just talking to no one.
Yeah, we get used to it. We get used to it.
Yeah. So I hope I make mistakes a lot too, and I think people like to take me to task, but I have no script. I have no, I just hit record, realize who's wrestling, and then talk and try to be interesting and informative for 3 or 4 minutes before the tachiai,
Mhm.
and then shut up. And I used to let the English guys take over, and they would talk, right? And I
Right.
could be quiet. But now with I'm using a Bema, there's no English, so I find myself having to talk even more. And yeah, sometimes I'm like, oh, this is a hard job. I can see why, doing it for 2 hours, like some of those guys have to do in the booth by themselves, you find yourself just saying the same thing sometimes, or trying to say it in a different, interesting way, but it's kind of funny. But yeah, I really enjoy doing it, and I've been doing it now. Well, the channel has been the original channel started in 2010.
Mhm.
So
So
almost
13
13
years.
years,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
yeah, so it's been a long time.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot longer than we've been watching the sport, because we really started
Yes.
watching sumo late 2016, and then
Hmm.
thought,
Dedicated 2017.
yeah, within a year we started a podcast on it, like we knew what we were talking about. And we've definitely learned so much more about the sport just watching it, as you did, I'm sure, just watching it more and more, kind of learning the intricacies of everything. And I
Hmm.
still feel like there's so much more we need to learn about the sport as well. But
Mhm.
there's
Yeah.
uh so as somebody that has been watching for a decent length longer than we have, how
Hmm.
does the current kind of
The
what we're
feel.
seeing in sumo
Hmm.
with, like, we had 3 straight Maegashira win a U show last time. There's
Hmm.
like one or two Sekiwake winning a U show a year. How is the current state of sumo kind of different from when you first jumped in and what you were seeing?
Sure. Well, I mean, I came in during Asashoru's peak, who was a Mongolian yokozuna, and he did the unprecedented that even Hakuho never did, where he won all 6 grand sumo tournaments in one calendar year. And I think that was 2005. He won 7 in a row. He actually won, I think, the November tournament, and then January through November, and then he lost the next January. But so very dominant, one single guy kind of ruling the roost, and he was the sole yokozuna at that time. The Japanese yokozuna had retired like just before I started watching, and then Hakuho came up in 2007. Haramafuji came along, Kakeru. So for me, the sport has always been dominated and ruled by Mongolians.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a lot of respect for them. Haramafuji is my all-time favorite wrestler.
Mm.
I just loved his scrappy, smaller than everybody, but doesn't take crap from anybody attitude. And he was lightning fast and just so fun to watch, and really some great matches with Hakuho. That was such a good rivalry, which I think we're lacking a little bit these days, but I'm hoping it's coming back. We saw that Kiribayama Terunofuji match, at the end of the last
Yes.
tournament,
Mm-hmm.
and that I hope is a signal of what we have to come. And yeah, I think, the Japanese fans are so desperate for a champion, and Kiseno Sato you have to remember when you talk about him that he was such a dominant Ozeki, and had never missed a tournament, never sat out, and was always like runner up, and he never could kiss the bride. And it was just terrible time and again. He finally made it to Yokozuna, and then he got injured in the very next tournament. And it's such a sad story in a way, but he's turned out to be a really popular coach, and his time as a yokozuna was really small. But that made sumo in Japan just blow up again. And the guy that I always go to for tickets, Jeff over at buysumotickets.com, well, he would tell me stories about the demand for tickets and how it skyrocketed, and just the ability to get tickets. You could just walk up any day, except maybe the final Sunday, and just go to the booth. Hi, I'd like some tickets, and you could get seats for any tournament any day. Sumo really did go through kind of a lull for a little while, and then the Kiseno Sato thing really ignited things again. And then, of course, for me, Asashoru was dominant, and he finished in about 2010, went out a little ignominiously, with this whole scandal surrounding, thing, and he was kind of pushed out. And really, my era is the Hakuho era. I mean, 2007 to, he just retired a few years ago. So again, dominated so hugely I mean, can you guys even imagine? I mean, when did you start? Well, I can't remember when he did it, but
yeah, for us it was late 2016. The first Basho that I watched any match of was the Goeido Zensho
the
Yusho.
Goeido Yusho.
But we've watched in a time of, I mean, obviously Hakuho was still Hakuho, but he was only Hakuho every other Basho because he was injured. And kind of the same with Kakuryu. We caught the tail end of Haruma Fuji before his unfortunate incident, and then kind of
the chaos era.
The chaos that it has been for the past 5 or 6 years is all we have really ever known. Terano Fuji's bringing back a little bit of stability when he's healthy, but we just had a stretch of 3 straight Maegashira winning Yusho when he had to step out to get that knee surgery. So we haven't had a dominant presence.
This is what we know of sumo, is just the chaos. And while some of us love it, there are others of us that are like, okay, wait a minute, hang on. The Yokozuna and the Ozeki are the pinnacle. Why aren't they always winning? Instead, you've got these lower ranked Maegashira that are coming up and taking the tournaments. What is going on?
Yeah, and that's what I was just going to say really quick was, there was a time where Hakuho was winning 84 out of 90 matches in a calendar year, which is just it's insane, right?
Absolutely.
And he did that twice.
But to be one of those 6 guys, though,
I know
what a feeling.
I mean, it's so dominant. Yeah. I mean, to get a Kimboshi back then meant something,
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it's been tough lately, and I think a lot of fans here in Japan want Asanoyama to reassert himself and vie for Yokozuna, because again, Japanese born guy. Kiribayama,
real quick on Asanoyama, have you noticed any, like, do people really care about the suspension? Has there been like a decline in his popularity at all, or is this is our great Japanese
our next hope?
No. If he does well and he quickly can come back to Sanyaku, which everybody expects him to do, and then vie for Ozeki, within the next, say, 5 basho, I think people will start to go nuts for him. And I don't think people are he didn't do anything that egregious, to be honest. It wasn't like he was slapping someone around or, doing something terrible. I think he just broke some rules about going out when he was supposed to stay in because of COVID.
And I think they punished the rank more than the actions.
So I think, and he bid his time and did his time, and now he's come back up through the ranks, but it's not the same group of guys at the top that he was facing. The disappointing thing is the people like the Mitakeumis and the Shodais who have done all the work and gotten up there and then just can't maintain. And
we've mentioned that on the show quite a few times. We're like, we can't figure out what's up with Mitakeumi. When he's on, he looks absolutely phenomenal, and then when he's off, it just doesn't, like, he just doesn't try. Same with Shodai. When Shodai is in the mode, he is almost unstoppable. But then there are other times where it just looks like he's going through the motions, and we can't figure these guys out.
And I think so that's disappointing. And our Ozeki rank has been very wibbly wobbly. And obviously Kiribayama, or Kirishima, as we got to start calling him
now.
That's gonna take a while. This is our first real big like Shikona change for somebody that's been established in the top. You had that with Ama to Haruma Fuji. I don't know if there's been any other like real high profile ones since then.
Sometimes they do it when they come into Juryo, like Kawazoe from Hakuho Stable, I think is going to change his name. So sometimes they do it a little earlier and you don't catch it as much, but
and I think Naya went to Oho.
That's Naya right. Went to Oho. Right. Yeah.
And now we've got Ochiai.
Ochiai might do it.
Yep. He's going to Haku Oho.
Is it really?
Haku Oho is going to
Haku Oho.
Yep.
Why do they do this to me? That's like, Some of these names.
Because they can.
Shonano Umi. You know, it's just like some of these names. It's like, oh man. So yeah. Yeah, so Kiribayama, I think will bring some stability. It'll be good to have two Ozeki. Hopefully Taki Keisho can, you know, keep his stuff together. I don't think he's ever going to be a Yokozuna. I don't know what you guys think, but I don't think he's ever going to get it.
I think it's possible if Terunofuji retires and like he can stay
okay, well, yeah.
healthy for two straight, but it's so tough for him.
The stars
to
have to
just stay
align.
healthy. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And Kiribayama, though, is Mongolian. And so the fans will root for him, of course, and he has his fans, and I think people like that he's very respectful of the traditions and all that stuff. But he, you know, they really want, you know, Hoshoru's coming up. He's Mongolian. You know, one of the Waka brothers would be huge if Waka Motoharu, you know, Waka Takakage. Unfortunately, now we don't quite know what's going to happen with him.
Heartbreaking.
Yeah. But yeah, like he would get huge press and applause here. So and Asanoyama, I think those two guys are the ones the Japanese fans are maybe waiting for. But we could have a very, very fun Sanyaku group that's very, very, you know, good rivalries going. And then you've still got people like Takayasu, who's always going to be a sentimental favorite. I mean, people so want him to win a Yusho before he retires because he was such a good Ozeki. And you know, he just, you know, he deserves it. And because, you know, a guy like Tamawashi, who I love, you know, the Iron Man, never sat out a day ever, you know. And
except for those few COVID days, but we don't talk about those.
We don't count those.
He was told to do that. He didn't do it because he had it. So yeah, you know, you've got that, you know, and then the fan favorites. You're always going to have people like Ura, you know, and you know, the underdog guys like an Enho, who just the fans love, and but you know, they're never going to obviously be an Ozeki or anything. And so I don't know. I find myself when I watch these days, there's just a lot of sort of jobbers, you know, guys who are just in it. They get to the Makuuchi, they can stick around, they get their 6 or 7 wins, they go down a little bit, then they maybe get an 8 and 7. They're never going to get double-digit wins, hardly ever. They're probably not going to get demoted. You know, your Kotoekos, your Ichiyamamotos.
We're nice to Kotoeko on this podcast.
You mean this man right here?
You could have brought up so many names. You could have said Gisho, you could have said Kagayaki, Mitoryu. Would have been good with any of those, but you gotta bring up Kotoeko.
You brought up Kotoeko.
So see, everybody has their fans. I mean, I rooted for this guy for a number of years, so you know, I
for
know
people listening to the podcast, that is Okino Umi behind
yeah.
Jason's shoulder. Yep.
And I will always be a Chiyomaru diehard. I love you, Chiyomaru.
Hokuto Fuji's always been my guy.
Yeah, Hokuto Fuji, sure. And so these guys, you know, and I find myself less interested, I guess is what I'm saying, when Kotoeko is fighting Mitoru, for instance. I'm like, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
You know, can I get to an interesting match or something? Now, that's not to say that they won't put on a good show that one day. They might have an amazing match and everybody's watching it in the highlight clips. And that happens and stuff. But yeah, I mean, I think if you guys watched a little bit, was it March? I think the excitement was all down in Juryo.
Oh, absolutely.
Asanoyama and Ichinojo and, you know, Ochiai coming up. And I mean, it was just such fun.
Even this last basho between Ochiai and Gonoyama was phenomenal.
Yeah. So, and
don't know if you know this, but the first time two Rikshi and Juryo had 14 or more wins in the same basho.
And they're both going to be up in Makuuchi. So that's
going to be Makuuchi.
Yeah. So that'll give me, you know, some interest to watch. I always find something, but there are days definitely when I come home from work and I'm supposed to do the videos and I'm just like, okay, you know, and I'll scan through or something and I'll be like, all right, let's just get to the top 5 matches.
Yeah.
You know, like you know,
that's fair. You got to go through the slog.
But yeah, I mean, you know, and people are always going to have their favorites, and you know, it's interesting who can eke out like Abi won a Yusho.
Yeah.
Okay. How did that happen? You know, it's like, so, you know, he's a talented guy and everything. I think he's a little one-dimensional.
Yeah.
But you know, so like Ryan was saying, we've had these guys who came out of sort of nowhere to win Yusho, and it should have been an Ozeki or Yokozuna. Where have they been winning Yusho? Terunofuji not having won one in a whole year when he won in May. That tells you a little bit about where the sport is at. And then, like you said, some people love that. Some people love predictability. Who's going to win? We don't know. It's open to anyone.
That's been a debate on our podcast.
Oh yeah,
couple of us on the side of we kind of want to see the dominant Yokozuna, dominant Ozeki. So when that Maegashira does win a Yusho, that means something. And then there's other people on our podcast that are on the opposite side. They just kind of enjoy the chaos and want to see the different people coming up each time. Each one is valid, but the side that you're on, Jason, let's just say we're on the same page here. We're on the right side.
Now wait a minute here, Ryan. I've slowly been converting to this.
You have.
I'm a fan of chaos, just because that's one of the things that I love about sumo is anybody can win it. Anybody can string it together. That's great. But when you're constantly getting random people stringing things together, I'm like, but wait, the Yokozuna and Ozeki are supposed to be winning and they're not winning, and they haven't won for so long. I need stability. Like reestablish the narrative of the top guys being the top guys and should be winning. Then I'll go back to chaos. But right now I'm like, no, give me stability. I want stability.
And part of it too is, I think, when you have a guy, you guys have been watching long enough to remember Tokushoryu. Yep. And when he won from Maegashira 16,
we 17 out.
Yeah,
Maegashira 17.
He was fighting guys all ranked down near him, and then finally I think they made him fight a Sekewake at some point, but he never fought an Ozeki or Yokozuna that tournament. I don't think
he fought Takakeisho.
Yep, Takakeisho.
That was his only Ozeki. I don't think there was a Yokozuna present for that Basho, but he did fight.
I can look it up.
Takakeisho.
Yeah, that's so it's just like sometimes when these guys from the double digit Maegashira win a Yusho, it's like, well, they didn't really have to fight so many of the tough guys until the very end, when everybody was, they're 10-0. Well, we better make them fight, Komusubi now. And so there is a little bit of that. I get that. Whereas, if you win at Maegashira 1, you fought a lot of tough guys to get that Yusho. So but I mean, that Tokushoru story is one of the best stories I've had in sumo ever. I mean, that was an amazing tournament.
He fought Shodai and Takakeisho the last 2 days.
And they were both ranked.
And he won. He beat him.
Shodai was Maegashira 4 at that time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't think he fought too many high ranked guys that tournament. And you're right, there's probably no Yokozuna. Maybe Hakuo was sitting out or something. But anyway,
Hakuho and Kakuryu both got 1 win and then had to leave that.
Yep, and had to leave.
Okay. There you go.
We're getting too into the weeds, though.
Yeah.
But this is great, though, Ryan. How often do we have the opportunity, other than just to talk amongst ourselves, to really dive into this with somebody else that loves the sport as much as we do?
Yeah, absolutely. Not very often now.
Exactly. I'm loving this.
Where are you guys in the States? Do you mind saying? I mean, are you in Iowa? It says Iowa behind you.
Yes, we are in Iowa. All 4 of us.
Iowa State University. So I'm in Ames, and Ryan is down in Des Moines.
Yep.
Okay.
3 of us down in Des Moines, and Mac stayed up in Ames at Iowa State.
Yes.
And then you're coming in July.
I will be there in July. Yes.
Very nice. Very nice. Very hot.
Yes, also very hot.
Yeah, we experienced that last time when we went to day 8 of the Nagoya Basho. Our favorite story of, we got to see, I think we saw Terunofuji like on his way up that Basho fight in either like Sandanme or Jonidan or something like that.
Oh, okay, wow.
But it was also Jake, his favorite is Takayasu. His favorite's always been Takayasu.
Oh, okay.
And that was the day that Tamawashi, I think it was Tamawashi, injured Takayasu, and I think is what led to his fall from the Ozeki rank. I think my timing's correct on that. So maybe it's best that we don't watch sumo live and in person.
Well, they've long they've long needed a new stadium in Nagoya. that has adequate air conditioning.
It was hot there.
Yeah, and they're building one. I think it's like literally if you stand at the current one, you can see Nagoya Castle, and I
Yes.
think it's like one side or the other of Nagoya Castle they're building, and I think it's supposed to open in 2025. Which that may make me try again, but yeah, I can't do Nagoya. It's just so hot. Uh,
How
and there's
often do you
always like
make
a
it to a day of
national
sumo?
holiday too. Like
Oh,
July 17th is someday. Do you want me to tell you what it is?
Yeah, go for it.
sure.
It is Marine Day. Like we're thankful for the ocean because we live on an island. So that's
Okay.
a national holiday.
Oh,
So
wow.
if you go that 3-day weekend, which is the middle weekend of the sumo days 7, 8, 9,
Hmm?
it's just so crazy everywhere because everyone like goes to Nagoya for some reason. I don't know why. It's not really near the ocean. Um, and like I remember going one year and just having my suitcase because I was gonna go to the sumo on the Sunday, and I left my hotel, was gonna go and then come back and get on the bullet train and go back to Shimane, and just trying to find a coin locker to put my suitcase in. I think I walked the entire length of like the major Nagoya station, and finally
That's
some
still a big station.
sweating profusely, this kind like bellhop at one of the hotels that's in the station just looked at me and goes, do you need help? And I was like, yeah, I'm just trying to find somewhere to put my bag. Do you know where any? He's like, I'll let you come in here and I'll let you put your bag in our kind of baggage hold area, and you can come. I was like, oh my god, thank you so much. And so he really helped me out. But yeah, it's just so hot to walk, even just to walk around, because people don't realize, if you've never been to Japan, that a lot of common spaces are not air conditioned at all. And so if it's, and we use metric. So if it's 30 degrees C outside, which is,
That's
I don't know,
hot.
90 degrees Fahrenheit, it's 28 degrees inside. You know what I mean? It's warm. So, but yeah, if you're prepared for it, you're all young, slim boys. You can do it.
Well,
Young. Thank you.
I'll be there for day 9, so I'll be experiencing some of that heat firsthand.
There you go. There you go. Just bring a fan.
Yep. Oh yeah. No,
Buy a
I
sumo fan.
I still have the first one that we got when we were over
There
there
you
the first
go.
time.
Yeah.
There you go. Bring that with you and you'll join the chorus of others.
Yeah.
At least
Matt.
you're coming back now. You can shout, you can cheer. You don't have to wear a mask if you don't want to.
Mhm.
And you can have some fun, and yeah, it is nice to see the stands filling up again, and sumo kind of regaining some of its fun. I don't know. It's been interesting. You guys have watched Abema then as part of your streaming addiction when you're in the States and you want to watch live at like midnight or whatever it is
That
for
was our
you.
introduction.
So I'm getting used to this Abema coverage, and it's quite fun. Their graphics are kind of crazy, and the guys they have sometimes, will be like, "Stop! Okay, now I'm going to show you what they did, and here's where he put his hand on the mawashi." And the former Yokozuna goes out there and gives a practical demonstration, and so it's kind of fun. But I do miss the NHK a little bit. They had just a way more coverage and way more camera angles, and
Yeah.
any slow motion, or if there's a mono E or something, they could totally like break it down and give you the slow mo of like his foot stepping out and all that stuff so much better. And I do miss listening to the English because I learned a lot just from listening to those guys, because they would have the up to the minute info about who got hurt or why this guy pulled out of the tournament on this day. And but Twitter is certainly I know you guys are on Twitter, I'm on Twitter. There's a really good English language Twitter sumo community out there. If your listeners aren't subscribed to you and on Twitter, they should be, and me. And I just retweet a lot of stuff that other people translate articles from Japanese into English, and you'll find out about like Kiribayama changing his name, or the who got promoted to Jurio like instantly on Twitter, it feels like, before you can even access it somewhere else. So what do you guys think of Sumo Prime Time?
I really
like
enjoy
it.
it. Yeah. I don't watch too much of like their during the Basho videos, because usually I'm already caught up on everything, and I just don't need that little bit of extra coverage. But I like the stuff that they do in between the tournaments, kind of giving you more just an insight on the Rikshi, what's going on inside Heya on any given day. That's been really fun to watch and see.
The
all
Rikshi
that stuff.
spotlights too, those have been great. I mean, for some of the guys that we've been like, oh, like he had a bad performance, I mean, we jokingly go back and forth. It's like, crap, now I actually like this guy because he seems so jovial when you talk to him. Like, oh no, don't make me like you.
When all we see is what they do in the dojo, and so that's all we're judging them off of. It's easy to be like, oh, this guy, I don't care about this guy. But like for the longest time, Daisho was just kind of like a joke on our podcast. Like, oh yeah, he exists, he's here. Obviously now not anymore, with how he's been doing the past few tournaments. But then he was recently featured on Sumo Primetime, and I'm like, I really like Daisho now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he has such great access to everybody, and they're so willing, and they realize, I think, at least he does, Hiro, that there's a huge English language or foreign fan base of sumo, and they need to service that. They haven't done a good job up until now, and they're trying. And he did a live chat the other day and answered some questions and talked about some of the reasons why, like, why don't they live stream on NHK World every day? They only do it kind of on the Sundays, right?
Yeah.
And so he's like, well, to be honest, we don't have all the, technical whatever to do it. And there's copyright issues. And so I said, okay, well, he's being honest.
Yeah.
And he said, but we're trying. He said, trust me when I say I would love to have every day streamed live. So if you want to stay up till 2 a.m. in America, or whatever it is, early in the morning in Europe, you could watch live. And I think that's a step. I think they'll get there. It's just interesting that it's taken them so long to get there, because my channel was doing so well for so long, and you can't have more interest than people had in like Tochinoshin and some of these guys when they were doing big things, who are obviously foreign born Rikshi. But yeah, I mean, I hope nothing happens to my channel. I have had a few, not copyright strikes, but just like, see, I don't put any ads on my channel, right? I make no money on YouTube. So that's the reason I think they left me alone for so long. Whereas some of the other guys try to, put ads and make money, and then they're like, no. And so lately I've been getting,
stop doing that.
I've been getting we own this Wakamoto Haru versus Endo match on day one. Yeah, we own that. You don't get to, make any money on that. So it's not a copyright strike. They're just saying you don't get to monetize that, but I didn't monetize it anyway.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, I don't care. You can claim every video on my channel. I don't, just let me put them out there.
Exactly. Just let me show it.
Yeah. We've gotten something similar because we do stupid parody songs where we have to write a sumo parody song. And so we've gotten like the background music we hit for that. And it's the same thing. It's just like, we own that. You can't make money off this. And we're like, that's fine. We weren't making money off this anyways.
Yeah. So, and but I think the future is pretty good. I think we will have, we have Hoshoryu and Wakamoto Haru both going for Ozeki in July. Real
quick, I want to ask your opinion on Wakamoto Haru. Have you seen, like, for me, it feels like Wakamoto Haru is just like such a strange occurrence that this guy comes into the Makuuchi division, debuting at 28 years old, and sitting here. Is it just a year and a half later? How long has he been here? But like,
because
he's now pushing for Ozeki, and he's really only ever had one setback at the top division. He's just about to turn 30. And like, how is this guy debuting at 28 years old in top division, like one of the top 5 Rikshi in sumo now?
To your point, Ryan, when he first came on the scene, I picked him 3 times as my chump, and 3 times I lost. I vividly remember that.
Yeah, you got to remember, though, if you look at his Heya, who his sparring partners are. So he's got both his brothers, and Wakataka Kage is a beast. And so he's fighting him every day, in practice. And I think there's other good people in their stable too. I don't know
I've
off the top
got
of my head.
Koto Kuzan. He might be down in Makushita, but he was in Jurio and he was up in Makushita for a minute.
Yeah, and so he's got really good daily partners, and he's grown up with his brothers, obviously, in the sport. And sumo, 30-ish feels old for some sports, but it's kind of prime for sumo.
Okay.
You really don't have to think about retiring until maybe 34, 35. And even some guys go longer than that. Okunoumi did, Tamawashi's still going, but yeah, so I think he's just right in the pocket, right where he needs to be, and he's just practiced and kept going and kept at it, and he's moved up and up, and he's just set now to do it. I think it's a sort of a natural progression for him. It feels like he's a little out of nowhere, and he gets overshadowed by his younger brother, but he definitely fights hard and deserves it. I think he's a great a wrestler, and so I'll be happy if he becomes an Ozeki too. I think having three is a lot of fun. I remember, I think there were times where I had 6 Ozeki when I was
Yeah.
watching.
I think
like
4 is the most we've seen.
And that was right
yeah,
when we started. We had Goedo, Kodo Shogiku, Kisei no Sato, and
Terunofuji.
Fuji. Yeah, thank you.
yeah,
Jeez.
yeah.
That's what I say.
No, I
He
can
was in
remember
Ozeki before.
back in the day when it was like there was the 2 old guys, and Murio's used to call them old Zeki on the sumo. And that was Kaio and Chiyotairyu, and they were holding on to like the last part of their career. And then you had new guys like Baruto and Koto Oshu, and then of course Hakuho was briefly an Ozeki. People do, he had to be an Ozeki for a little while. Hanama Fuji was an Ozeki. All of these guys were Ozeki, and I think there was a time, one basho, where we had like 6, and it was crazy. Yeah. So
And we've been limping along with 1 until finally Kirishima is coming to bolster the ranks. How are you feeling with those 4 guys that we had at Sekiwake this last basho? We got Kirishima stepping up. Do you think we'll get one of Daisho, Hoshoryu, or Wakamoto Haru getting enough wins to make the leap to Ozeki and join Takakeisho and Kirishima within the next couple of
I think
basho?
one of them will probably be able to do it. I don't think multiple.
Okay.
A lot of
who
competition.
would you peg? Who of the 3? Who would you peg?
It's a flip of the coin, I think, between Hoshoru and Wakamoto Haru. I think, because Hoshoru wants it. He's very, very hungry. He has the drive, but he just loses inexplicably sometimes. And Wakamoto Haru is he's very steady, but he doesn't have as much flair, maybe. So
well, with those Ucharis he does at the Tawara, I think there's plenty of flair there. That one against Hoku Seiho, this basho, was a thing of beauty.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, I think we do have some talented guys right there just waiting to make their big move onto the next level. And we have, I mean, it's interesting to think how many Yusho winners we have in the Maigashira. People that have won a tournament like Abi and not Takayasu.
No, not Takayasu.
Takeyumi, and of course Asunuyama has won a Yusho. He and is on his way. And Tamawashi and all the guys down there that have won before and or been in Ozeki, like Shodai and these guys who have been in Ozeki and are now not anymore. So yeah, there's a lot of talent at the top, kind of in the second half of the broadcast every day, when you get to those upper ranks and then the top ranks. And then we've got guys making their debut like Gonoyama and Ochiai, who will make it a lot of fun in the first half. So I'm looking forward to the July Boss show. I think you guys will have a lot of fun when you go see it live. I think there'll be some fun matches. And I don't, down in Jurio, it'll be interesting to see kind of, who ends up where. And I know fan favorite Enho might end up at Makushita.
I think, I think based on the people that are being promoted from Makushita up to Jurio, people have done the math and like, okay, that looks like Enho's going down to Makushita.
Yeah. So
I'm actually
that'll
looking out
be
for Shishi. I think I'm really keeping my fingers crossed for Shishi.
yeah. Yeah. And we got Kim Bozon in there,
Yep,
making
Kimbozan.
his he
Yep.
tried, they put him all the way up at what M5 and he didn't do so well. But that's to be expected because
He
Absolutely.
just needs more experience.
yeah, you haven't fought those really tough guys in the upper part yet. And I told people on my videos last time, Kirishima is gonna have so many parties to go to, so many, congratulation events because he's an Ozeki that they almost never have good tournaments in their first tournament as an Ozeki.
Nope.
And so if he gets 10 wins, I think he should be happy. Um and but he'll try obviously his best against the guys coming up who want to become an Ozeki. And his big thing, as you guys know, because I'm sure you've talked about it, is he's never beaten Teruno Fuji.
Yep. All the guys at the top, except for like Daisho, have never beaten Teruno Fuji. That's
Yeah.
But
one
then
of
you
our
got a guy
favorite
like
things to
Meisei
look
that just
at.
comes in, or Daisho
Yeah.
that's just like, nope, we can pop one off every once in a while.
But yeah, we did this on our recap episode for the Natsu Basho. But you look at days 10 through 15, the opponents for Teruno Fuji. Day 10, Koto no Waka. He's 6-0 against Koto no Waka. Day 11, Hoshoryu, 9-0 against Hoshoryu. Day 12, Wakamoto Haru, 3-0. Day 13,
3-0.
Asanoyama, 6-0. Day 14, Kiribayama, 10-0. And you have day 15 against Takakeisho, and they're a lot more even. But yeah. that level of Rikshi, they just don't have the style that really can go up against Teruno Fuji, it seems like. And so when one of those guys finally breaks through and is able to beat Teruno Fuji, that's going to be really fun to see.
Well, it's like when Tochinoshin finally beat Hakuho. It was like, oh my god, he finally beat him.
And that was such a huge one because that was securing the Ozeki promotion at the height of Tochinoshin mania. Absolutely,
Yeah, that one's a lot of fun. I think didn't Sumo Primetime just make like a farewell to Tochinoshin video or something?
Yes.
They put a lot of that footage up.
And we're gonna have an episode within the next
Yep.
couple of weeks. We're gonna do dedicated to Tochinoshin because he
was
was
nice.
probably the biggest figure on the podcast for the first couple of years that we did this, because the third Basho we did was the one that he won, and then he went on his amazing Ozeki run, and then trying to keep the Ozeki rank for that year or so when he was just so often injured and couldn't get those wins.
Yeah, it's a tough rank. You have to be on. Well, I mean, you can sort of be off and you get that second chance with the Kadoban, but still, you're just fighting all the top guys every time. So yeah, it's tough.
Since you've been watching, is there a match that just stands out as like your all-time favorite, like Tochinoshin versus Hakuho or Hakuho versus Teruno Fuji? I mean, just those big matches in our brains where I'm like, that was amazing. Is there one that stands out for you?
I mean, the one I often, when I'm asked that question, I'll often say it's Hanuma Fuji versus Hakuho, and I should know which basho and what year it was and everything. I don't remember, but the one where he if he wins, he gets the Zensho Yusho and he becomes Yokozuna, and he did, and there's just so much emotion in that moment, especially for people like me who are Hanuma Fuji fans. And just huge, packed Kokugikan, just all Senshiraku, final match of the day. I think if he had lost, it would have gone to a playoff, or it was something like that. And he was able to win and go 15-0, back-to-back 15-0s to become a Yokozuna, which is just insane. And just so much elation for him. That's one of my favorites. The Tokushoru, that day where he won in his championship interview. What else? I mean, yeah, there's just been so many. I mean, Hakuho, as much as people may have thought he was very braggadocious about it or whatever, but just that fist pump when he won that final, you knew it was his last tournament. And to go out in that style, because he's the GOAT, And
much love for Hakuho on this podcast. We're not 100%. Among the Hakuho haters. Yeah.
So yeah, just so many. I mean, that's why you keep coming back and fans love it, and you're hoping for those moments every tournament. And You know, we've had weird tournaments. We had the weird silent tournament, you know, during COVID where
Oh
there was
yeah.
nobody in the stands, and they had
Mhm.
that crane camera, and they were, you know,
Yes.
doing all the fun zooms and
Yeah.
everything. And I'm like,
Yes.
that would be cool if they could keep that, but they never,
Mhm.
you know, they can't because of where it
Mhm.
has to sit in the stadium. And but yeah, there's been some fun moments over the years, and you know, I do plan on going back to the States probably in about a year. So the channel will come to an end. But I thought maybe that was going to be this year, and it wasn't. So I know a lot of sumo fans are like, "Yay,
It's
stay
like,
in
please, just
Japan,
one
don't
more year.
leave."
One more year.
But you know, and the encouraging thing is that maybe, you know, Sumo Prime Time and these kind of things, they'll kind of have their act worked out, and they then because sumo fans just want access. Give us
Mhm.
something. Give us a channel we can subscribe to. Give us an app. You know, people will pay money, but they
Oh
don't want
yeah.
to pay, you know, I don't know if you guys remember the ridiculous app they had where uh it was something like $10 a day, $120 if you paid for the whole 15 days in advance.
Mhm.
$120 for one tournament.
And that's just to get access to
And
all
That
the
was just
matches for the
access to
tournament?
it.
yeah, and that was just access
Wow.
on the internet. Like, and it was just like ridiculously expensive. And they tried that for a while and that went away. And I mean, they have an app now, but I've heard, and I haven't watched in a while, that they give away the winner. Like if you click on the thing, it
They do.
shows you
Yeah,
Because
I
Mac, you
have the
use
app.
that app, right?
I
Yeah.
have the app on my phone. So when our other sources aren't working or are a little behind, I use the app, and yeah, no, it is rife with spoilers.
yeah. And so it's like, don't do that, you know, hire someone that knows something about technology. So yeah, you know, but you know, like I said, you know, hopefully a year or so when I finally do have to pack up shop. I know Nato has so many problems, you know, keeping his channel up, and
Yeah.
he's like the Energizer Bunny. He just keeps coming back and
Yeah.
you know, making a new channel. I don't know what his deal is. I don't know why he does that. I don't know if it's because he tries to monetize or if they just know that because he'll instantly get like 10,000 subscribers when he puts up a new channel.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I
Like,
think he's
it's
on
ridiculous.
Nato Sumo 8 now.
Yep.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, if somebody's got to have a brain over there that's like looking at this going, okay, if 10,000 people want to subscribe just to watch
Continually.
sumo fights, yeah, like continue
It's like
exactly.
he's on 8. He's continually getting this many subscribers, this many views. Like,
You
hello.
guys should be able to put up something. And I've said this before, like, why in the day of modern internet computers editing does it take NHK World highlights?
I know.
6 p.m. it stops, 1 a.m. it goes, you know, Japan time. So what's that? 7 hours it takes them to
Mhm.
put together a highlight package? Give me a break.
Yeah.
So
And are those aren't free to access, are they? There's something you have to
I
pay to
think,
get
but
those
not on
highlights?
Yep.
YouTube. They don't put it on
Yeah.
YouTube. It's on their
You have to have a
website.
subscription, I think.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Well,
Because
yeah, if they've
that's
done that.
been always my thing is, and you don't necessarily get all of the matches with
Right.
their videos, because that's what I first started watching sumo was
Yeah.
somebody would re-upload the NHK highlights to YouTube, and so that's
Yeah.
the first few bashos. That's what I would watch, and then I think they kind of put a stop to that, and then kind of Nato Sumo came in there, stepped in, Kitama Yama. But yeah, if there was just somebody that was as fast as Nato Sumo and
Yeah.
legal, I would gladly pay them.
That's
Happily.
right. That's
Happily.
right.
Very
You know?
happily. But
Yeah.
just like the ability to have those matches up within an hour or two, like Nato Sumo, Kitama Yama are able to do. Because when I wake up, like I do a podcast about sumo, so I want to see the matches as quickly as possible. I want to go on Twitter. What are people talking about throughout the day? What's
Mhm.
the conversations happening? I don't really feel one. I just want to see it, but I don't feel like I can wait to watch the matches because I need to know what's in the
Right.
discourse, and I can't wait on those highlight packages, and I can't afford to miss a match that they
That's
just
right. That's
decide
right.
isn't consequential. And it probably
Which
isn't.
is
It's probably
why
Mitoryu versus Tsudokisho. Who cares? But I still
It
want to
doesn't
see it.
matter. We're still writing notes. At least for me, I put
Hey.
stuff in my notebook where I'm like, no, I need this. I need this. I'm
Yeah,
sipping
yeah.
my coffee. I've got to have something.
And I'm glad that I mean, because I am not that sumo fan. I don't have an encyclopedic knowledge of every past tournament. I don't remember. I'm terrible with names. And, I have like this guy on my channel named Tube Wings who leaves comments, and he's like this sumo historian and will tell you, oh, Kirishiyama, oh, well, this is why he changed his name. And this is all about the original guy who had that Shiona. And, he knows everything. And I luckily I have a pretty good sumo community in the comments. And they're very helpful to new people and people. Oh, why did he lose this match? Or what's a mono-e? Or, why do they have to put their hands down at the beginning? And the simplest questions
What's
that
the
I've been
dead
asked
body
1,000
rule?
Yeah,
times.
no, Ryan, no, Ryan, no.
That was a fun one this past
So
Boss show.
That's controversial.
yeah, but and so I think, like you said, it's a place where people can come together and talk about sumo, and that's why I like it. And I leave my comments very open, and mostly people are civil, and nationalism reared its ugly head for a little while sometimes, Mongolia this or Georgia that or something. And but most people are just there for the love of the sport and just want to root their guy on, and like, oh, I can't believe Shodai lost, he's so great. What do you mean Shodai's great, he's terrible?
Uh-oh.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Oh,
right?
you found my comments about Shodai.
Yeah,
Ryan, no. Oh, but
So.
yeah, no, it's all of us at that point.
Yeah.
But anyways, good talking to you guys today. I really appreciate coming on the show.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And before we let you go, Jason, noticed
Most important
yesterday.
question coming up here, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yesterday or the day before, you did a live stream for the BBM trading cards. How long have you been collecting those? Because this is something that I just started getting into. I've got the Series 1 from this year, and I just did the Series 2. So
Series 1,
I've just
Series
started
2.
getting into this. How long have you been into the trading?
I've probably been because they basically bring out 2 boxes a year, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And one comes out in like January, and one just came out now in May. And I always buy, and I've been buying the new boxes as they've come, probably for about the past 5 years.
Okay.
And then I've just set my goal was to try to get, before that they only had 1 box a year. So I just joined this Facebook group where it's like serious collectors, but they have trading, and you can say, hey, I've got these, I need these cards, can you want to trade for, blah blah. And they have a spreadsheet which has everything going back to like the 90s. And I just made it my goal. I want to have a box from every year from 2010 when I started the channel to now. And I think I've been able, it's sometimes a little bit high prices. I've been able to buy 1 box from every year. I think I'm missing like 1 year, 2012 or 2013 or something. And that's because that's kind of my era. Like sometimes people are like, oh, look, they have cards on sale from 1998. And I'm like, yeah, but I know who Akebono is.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
But they're not, my guys. I would love a box from like 2006 or 2007. Never find those. So yeah, I'm just trying to, and then I do open them. I'm not one of these guys who's gonna hoard it or anything. I do open them and try to put the sets together, and I love the, I got the autographed Ichinojo. He's gonna be a prize in one of my contests coming up.
I've got the one that I've got autographed Tamawashi from the last box.
Oh, very nice.
I did not get any autographs in the
Series 2. No
in the Series 2. Did you get any autographs?
I didn't get an autograph when I broke this box yesterday.
Okay.
So yeah, it happens. But I mean, I've got Okinaumi autographs. I mean, you can buy just the autograph cards on Yahoo Auctions.
It's more fun to just kind of happen upon
just
them,
see what you get.
But that's I mean, it's just the joy of opening. And I really like this new set of cards. They have these kind of like the coach with their guys in their stable cards, and
we were talking about that.
And sometimes the design is not great, and other times they kind of really do a nice job. So they're not that expensive, and it's just, I feel like it's just a fun part of the hobby. But yeah, you guys should try it. A big sumo fan, Robert over there, he has boxes sometimes that you can get at a decent price. And Yeah, I mean, you're going to be here soon, so you could
Yeah.
maybe buy some cards at I think they have a table somewhere. You know how you kind of can walk around and there's souvenir shops and little food stalls. One of the little tables, I think, has Sumo cards.
Mhm.
So you can maybe buy a box and not have to pay as much. Because right now, guys, you guys are coming at the perfect time because your dollar buys so much yen right now. It's insane. I had to send like $1,000 home to help out my sister with something a month or so ago, and I had to send 14 mon, which is 14,000 yen. By the time you convert it, is now
exchange rates.
$1,000. So it's like I'm losing $400. It feels like
Yeah.
just because of the
Oh.
exchange rate. So you guys are awesome because you can bring $1,000 and someone's going to hand you,
A little bit
14
more.
mon. And so your tourist dollar goes a lot longer these days. So, upgrade that hotel, man. Get the good stuff. Don't go cheap. Don't go cheap. Ride in
Well,
the nice car, reserve seat on the Shinkansen. Do it all.
well, thank you so much for joining us this evening for us,
Sure.
this morning for you. Where can our viewers and listeners find more about your channel and on Twitter and social media?
Twitter is Sumo Jason. If you type the words Sumo and the word Jason into YouTube, you'll find me. I can't remember if I put a dash, like what is that, an underscore or not. I know on Twitter it's Sumo_Jason, but anyway, just type in Sumo and Jason and you'll find me. And yeah, come along. I know a lot of people. I don't really want to talk about it with you guys right this moment because I'm going to do a live stream in a week about it, but there's a Netflix show. Did you guys watch it called Sanctuary?
No spoilers, no spoilers, no spoilers.
I've seen the first 2 episodes.
Yeah.
I haven't finished it yet.
I think brought a lot of people to my channel. I think they watched that show and they're like,
how real is this?
And what is this? Yeah, let me see if I can watch a little more of the real, thing. And like I said, if you type things in English on YouTube, you end up at my channel sometimes. So yeah, I'm gonna do just a review of my thoughts. I watched all of the 8 episodes on next weekend on Father's Day. Not for me, I'm not a dad, but I will talk about that. And so yeah, I think Sumo is kind of making some strides to be more well known. I wish they would do a tour. I don't know if you guys remember. Well, you weren't Sumo fans then, but 2012 maybe.
That's before our
did
time.
a 3-day sumo thing in Las Vegas.
Ooh.
How awesome would it be to go to Vegas and get to watch sumo?
Yeah.
And
Yes,
all the
please.
wrestlers loved it. They got to go there.
If
and I
they
think
did anything within
Hawaii.
the continental United States, I
we're
would
there.
be there
We are
immediately.
buying
Yeah.
our tickets.
Yeah, and they went to Hawaii once back in the Akebono days, of course. But they don't tour outside of Japan very much ever. And of course, with COVID, it hasn't happened at all. So it'd be awesome if they did that again and went to Europe, like London, or if they went to somewhere in the United States. I think they would get more reception than they think they would get. Because I know there's amateur clubs in like Dallas, and you hear about these tournaments that come up, and and guys like you in Iowa who are just rabid sumo fans, and you would travel to go see it. So
absolutely,
yeah, you never know. We might have something fun like that happen in the next few years, but probably maybe after Terano Fuji retires and they have younger guys.
Easier to trot out the top guys without them limping all over the place. And
what has he got on his knees? What is that?
Exactly.
So, all right, guys, have a good rest of your evening.
Absolutely, Jason.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely. It was so great to talk with you. Hopefully we will speak with you sometime in the future.
Okay. Peace. Take care.
Yep, absolutely.
Thank you for listening to Grand Sumo Breakdown. Until next time,
throw your salt high
and keep moving forward.